world of Alan, a great war between the continents of H.Y.D.R.A and H.Y.D.R.A is forcibly brought to an end by the Tempest, a cataclysmic storm that rages over the surrounding oceans, a divide which serves both as salvation and doom. The adventurers known as HYDRA seek the means to control the Tempest, but can they unite against adversity on all sides? Can they repay a debt to a friend?
Of Alan, a small speck of light traverses the skies. Ignis and the other G.E.E.S.E are bound to the Astral Phoenix, using their elemental energy to power it. The party, the HYDRA, has had a brief tour of the ship, with the Tranquility Warden talking to us before we leave. We talk about the Draconians and the Hollow King, and Cornelius talks about his past, that his father Leonidas is somehow connected to the Hollow King. But how can it be connected? It's safe, says the Tranquility Warden. Cornelius makes the point that we had, in fact, faced it atop a dragon, and we've met it in person. The Tranquility Warden, the colour draining from his face, immediately demands a message to be sent to the mages, who guard it to check its presence. The message comes back nearly instantly that the Hollow King is indeed at rest, and perfectly safe. Cornelius rolls 26 persuasion, and the Tranquility Warden agrees to double the guards. Tack kneels to the Tranquility Warden, but is told to rise, as he is a friend to the Warden and all of his people. And they talk about what it means to serve H.Y.D.R.A in any way that they can. The Red Tiger lets out a hearty snarl to Tack. If ever you wanted to become a member of the Griffin Guard, there may be place for you here. It is true, Red Tiger, says the Warden. You rose when you were laid low by the Draconic Mastermind. Should you join us, though, you'll have to go through the trials. They'll test your mettle, says Red Tiger. Before we leave, I just want to confirm a rumour that I'd heard. And apparently, not many can craft such a blade as the one that I have in my possession, renamed Brave Song. It can deal with the elements such as blood, rain and sand. Sand? Well, the one place that's known for its sand is, of course, the devouring wastes of Alkesh. The people there very rarely venture out, but perhaps they're getting involved in the affairs of the world, and if they're getting involved in these particular affairs with cultists, then it's rather troubling if so. The markets of Nabazian or Denmarsh may have information as to the origins of this blade. Before I continue, I will say now that I'm trying to work with as few notes as I have, because when I'm on the laptop, my note-taking ability just goes to pot. So, yeah. So I'm going to try it, but my notes for the next session are even more complete for the last one that we did. So yeah, this is session 23. I should have said that earlier. Ignis Fadeweaver has hair as wild as a forest fire, and she stands at 5'6", commanding the crew. She says, "Look lively now! Make ready the heart!" She makes her way to the navigation quarters, and she says that the journey to the gala in Drumeth, in Alkesh, will take 2 days, which is no small feat, given that even an Imperial airship would take weeks to get there. The other Genasi take to their stations, and after a while, we make our way to the mess hall. Cornelius talks to an air Genasi, or Genasi, called Malachite, and when they shake hands, his hand feels simultaneously light and heavy. And Malachite is over 700 years old. Gee golly, says Cornelius, and to which Malachite responds, "Yeah, I'm quite a young man compared to you." He has some family in Sentinel Island, and most of his kind will be in the Free States and perhaps even the Azure Basin. He gives a lopsided grin. Cornelius continues talking to Malachite, and Ignis talks to me, mentioning that this is not a fighting vessel, and this small crew of 5, while formidable, still has enough provisions to last a few trips around the world. Sans, of course, the Tempest. Malachite passes by and says, "I wouldn't complain about some firepower." Now, it is true that stealth isn't the Astral Phoenix's strong suit, but maybe we could introduce some Kingdom technologies to help with that, and even some firepower. So the option to upgrade this place is, well, quite possible. Tack admires the Bracken ingenuity when Raven Feathers draw him to the front of the ship. They then guide him below decks. The door slams shut behind him, and in front of him is a pool of blood. No, a lake of blood before him. The feather sinks into the blood, and he prays a quick prayer to the Raven Queen before he descends into the pool. He sees his life, and he sees others' lives appear before him as the blood begins to fill his lungs. A girl thrown from a horse, a smith having molten fire spilt upon him. The final moments of others' mortal lives. Raven feathers flit around him, and he turns to see someone nearby. A tavern in Bracca, one that he grew up helping in. A blacksmith long since abandoned. He sees something corrupted in the cycle of death, something that would deny the Raven Queen the souls which she is entitled to. He looks around and tries to ask what she really wants. Tack blinks, and he's back. I tinker. Cornelius smells the ship. It smells smoky in some places, and pure in others. We're coming up to Alkesh now. Do you want to stop here to charge the magics in Denmark, or go straight to the capital? We consider even going to Freegate to pick up Tack's new armour. We press on. We hear some shouts and cries, the ring of fire is spluttering, and all hands are on deck to cause the ring of fire to thrum. It would appear that as we got close to G.E.E.S.E, our ability to stay aloft was interfered with. I don't know why, but something seems to be disrupting the heart. It, and the entire ship, began to cool itself. Now, I should explain that the Astral Phoenix is magically powered. It doesn't use the Kingdom's technology of gravitational runes, near as we can tell. It is powered by the Genasi, who essentially pray to the heart and keep it going with their elemental energies. And when the Genasi are affected, the heart of the ship is affected. So we've kind of got to keep that afloat. So, I'll have to look into some awesome ways of perhaps enhancing the ability while taking the load off the crew, in case they're needed elsewhere. We continue on away from G.E.E.S.E.'s seemingly magical barrier that's preventing us from getting nearby, as they are quite a superstitious people. They don't like magic there. Like, they're okay with like their doom guards and things like that. You know, they are a very Kelemvori people. But yeah, they don't like the arcane. Fair enough. As we approach Freya Gates, an Imperial airship heads straight towards us, and of course, emblazoned upon it is Basilisk. "Stop in the name of the kingdom!" shouts a voice as cannons swing towards us. Cornelius runs from the top deck and throws his hands up, dropping hardtack, which Rigsby quickly eats up. We identify ourselves and see majors atop floating discs approach to confirm our identities. This is the Royal Ostergarthian Air Force. Thank goodness. Major Helena Bruckner approaches in her resplendent golden armour. "Very interesting vessel, Commissar. Whereabouts did you get it?" "Well, I'd love to tell you. I mean, it's a beauty. She is a beauty, isn't she? But I'm afraid I can't. That's classified. You know, I've got to hand it over to the Minister of the Interior. You know what he's like." As we can't get anywhere with this, she decides that she's going to leave us. And Tack... God. Oh dear. I think this might have been what sparked the little honour duel that we might be having later on. Tack says out loud, "Ah, would you hear that? Hummel's calling his little bitch back to heel. I will not be goaded by the whelp," she says to herself, and to her banshees, who immediately follow her behind. Some balls. Some balls. We, perhaps Odin lives with us in some fashion still. Just as we're about to have the ship possibly impounded for a diplomatic mission, an Air Forcey comes along. I think that's my words, might be the DM's, I'm not sure. Admiral Fernando Hernandez orders that this thing not be impounded. That while this is the Basilisk patrol route, this is still ultimately the Air Force's jurisdiction and final decision. So we are told that as a compromise that whatever business we have, we should see to quickly move the ship. Before we do that, though, I do say, well done to the Basilisk for being so responsive in dealing with an incoming threat. It is rather impressive. I do mean that earnestly as well. That I'm not going to let attempted civilian murder get in the way of honour and good and punctuality. But yes, perhaps if this honour duel is to go ahead, might have to see about that. So yeah, we'll see how things go. I'm spoiling things that are coming later on. I do apologise. As we enter Freya Gate now, there is a lot more trade here. The dragon that once plagued the land is now deceased, and therefore trade has boomed dramatically. We're seeing people coming from Greasemold, we're seeing people coming from Thunderhelm to Drumeth. We are at the heart of the kingdom's economy, and it is loudly pounding. We meet Toridork foe of shiny metal, the armour being far more advanced than we expected when Tak put in his commission. It removes the stealth penalty, it comes with a helm, and it can be fitted with the runes by an enchanter. The armour is not made up from silver, however. It's adamantium, a star metal that has crashed to the earth, which blocks critical hits, up to his proficiency bonus, I think, per long rest? I'm not sure. And we forgot to... he invested in the shop as well. He could have had some money that I could have taken to repair my... Never mind, we'll get into that later. It's fine, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Fucking dice! Cornelius decides to go to buy some robes from Head to Toe, which specialises in selling to nobles. A man outside the store asks, "Can I help you, sir?" he says snootishly. "Perhaps something similar across from the ward, if it would please, sir." He's then told by a goblin magically reaching, whispering into the human's ear because he can't reach him. Immediately has him raise his eyes and go, "I am to understand that the Minister of the Interior requires you presence. Please enter our abode. Master Wyatt was very insistent that you would dress for the occasion, and that the treasury will cover the cost." Cornelius mutters it's a good use of taxpayer money, and without missing a beat, the DM. To which the gentleman sneers venomously, "Indeed." I think that was like, honestly, there are so many good lines in this session, but I think that was my favourite. Although I did try a line on my sweetheart later in this session. Cornelius finds some cream robes with gold embroidery and a Cossack hat, which doesn't match, but he puts his new hood up with his hat in his backpack. The human shoes have been polished into obsidian mirrors, contrasting with his pale skin. "I'm not sure what I can do for yourself, noble paladin?" Tak takes off his helm. "I wouldn't expect you to do much that has already been done." The armour looks like he's got raven wings on his arms, etched in silver, with various thorns of savage metal protruding. However, he is granted some robes of the Raven Queen, as we will not be allowed to wear armour into this place. "I do have some traditional wear of the Orcish tribes of the Sabani, if you so choose," he says to Rakanar. It's blood red with no symbology, and it's fine, but practical, and while it provides no armor protection, it allows unhindered movement. He requests a 6-headed Hydra, Rack, Tak, Cornelius, myself, Nero and Rigsby, on his chest, with padding on his shoulder for Nero. And Tak, yeah, he wants us to have HYDRA, a cloak, which has the symbology of the Raven Queen. I'm given my uniform to wear to the gala, and with it I also find instructions. "Commissar, I hope this finds you well. I hope you enjoy the ball. Please find enclosed the formal wear, and I would ask that you follow these 3 points to the letter. Point the first, best behaviour. I want you to understand I want you to understand how important it is that everything goes ship-shaped and you do not give away your role in the chorus. Do not make a mess. Don't get into any fights, and don't leave behind any trails if you're stalking anybody. If there's anything you want, let us know. Clear it with us beforehand, and we'll address it. But finally, enjoy the event, Commissar. We will be watching. This message will self-combust in 5 seconds, and with that it goes harmlessly. As we leave the shop, fully dressed in my uniform as well, which is like almost like a French Foreign Legion uniform, but with the colours like blue and purple of the kingdom. We march on, but as we're just about to leave Freegate, we see a sign that says, "If you've got problems," "If you've got problems, please come in and see the Beastmaster." And he doesn't recognise us, does the Beastmaster. But we're introduced to his animals, including Marvin, Thanatos, and Cannibal, who are found in the Cold Gulf. Apparently, a mermaid took them to the water temple and rescued them. So we thought they were dead, our horses. Or rather, everybody else's horses, but fortunately they were alive and protected. Funniest thing! You know, we just nearly died on that ship, and then... what are the odds? We went to the water temple that you were looking for. Oh man, it was great. Oh, you should have seen the power in that place of power. Ah, dear, what a shame that you weren't there, Cornelius. I would have done the same. Maybe not. We return to the Astral Phoenix, and as we're going to the Skydock, I notice a mage that I recognise. And of course, it's Damien, who is searching for ancient maps to find druidic communities which worshipped at these places of power. And I'm also told as well that I can bring a +1 to the bowl, so I offer my hand to Damien. I have my sweetheart's permission. And so we go. We take a quick break as we dock in Drumeth in the Skyport. Cornelius, however, is very quick to try and find his 6-foot blonde Amazonian snack of the mouth. I think I said that right. He goes to the Red Quest quarters to try and file a missing persons report for Maya, the medic who rescued him, or rather, sort of rescued him, and and also as well played quite a few nice songs as well at the bakery. A session that I was not there for, unfortunately, because it was a really good one. I missed quite a few early sessions, and yeah, that would have been fun, and to see the interactions with Omar as well, but yeah, but I did say go on ahead. So yeah, so anyway, he's looking around for him, and as he's trying to file this missing persons report, someone pops their head around and says, "Is this a missing persons report? Perhaps I can help." And as it turns out, it's Maya. And he's described her. And suddenly acts, all casual after his panic, Riz 10 out of 10 is what I've got here on my notes. No idea what that is, but I'm sure it's good. 10 out of 10 is good for everything, right? Unless it's 11, This goes to 11. As he's about to, as he's trying to, hang on a second, right, yeah, so he's trying to flirt. Sorry, it's the temperature that's getting to my head. Dehydration. It's only 26 degrees here, and, all Brits are melting. Yeah, so she hardly remembers him, and she remembers the date, but she can't for the life of her remember Cornelius' name. And he's about to leech in for a smooch. He rolls a 4 strength saving throw, and he's told that he's delirious before he passes out, as I think she just gives him a quick slap as he's going in for a kiss. However, Maya is quick to leap to his aid and giving him 10 cc's of juniper juice, which I think is gin. And when she's asked if they dated, she says, yeah, but he never wrote back. And Tak hands over the stack of letters from Cornelius' backpack and explains that he's been a bit of bother and unable to write her. Also, as well, he didn't know her address. So Ragnar carries Cornelius out after he's healed up. I'm probably pissed after 10 cc's of juniper juice. I invite our parents to the airship, who have been asked to provide some catering, and the Hellhound is still there, and he's happy. And previously, he was a bit upset that he was going to be left alone, but then he saw Rigsby, so they played a bit. And yeah, I was actually going to ask Cornelius, but I think he was knocked out at that time. Like, if he could provide some makeup for all the scars. I don't think I've actually made this a point really in the session recaps, but I've made it a sort of self-rule that every time my character goes unconscious, they have some sort of scarring. So she's got a floating rib from the time she was knocked out to be taken to the Heartseeker Inn. She has burns from the lightning breath of Nezareth the Hungry. She was knocked out by the Hollow King, so she's got like a deep cut on her cheek or something like that. Yeah, she's taken quite a few blows. And the reason why I do it is because I was inspired by Fable of all things, where every time you die in that game, you come back, but you have a scar, and that reduces your attractiveness and things like that. There are lingering injuries in D&D and a lot of other RPGs where you don't die, but you lose a limb or something like that. So I was like, I just want this to be cosmetic. So yeah, so who knows? Maybe the next one will be a limp. But yeah, so I was actually going to say to Cornelius, hey, could you use your disguise kit or something like that to put some makeup on me and just hide these things so my parents aren't horrified? But yeah, fortunately, I think they expect it. It comes with the turf now. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and we're looking for another +1 because Cornelius has got one and I've got one, but Tagafria and Ragnar don't. So I jokingly suggest, should we go to the butcher and see if he'll be Ragnar's +1? So we go to the butcher's abode, which stands triumphantly over the Skull Club Tavern, overlooking what's left of it as it's been torn down. Ragnar enters and says, "Butcher, let's see some gains." Boom! The wall explodes and the butcher holds a cow over his shoulder and clenches Ragnar's fist, and he rolls a 6. Ragnar says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've forgotten to get some gains. I'm sorry." "It's okay, bro. Let's get you some gains." And he fills an uncomfortable amount of steak in a bag of refrigeration, holding 24 cuts of steak. "Bro, get this. We're going to the ball. So let's get there and show everyone our massive gains." "Absolutely, bro, but I'll be catering it there anyway, so we'll be there." And his wife, the butcher's poor, long-suffering, I don't think named wife, neither is the butcher, looks at the wall and just goes, repairing it magically, and says, "You've seriously got to stop doing that." They do arm and pec flexes, and they move on. "Bro," says the butcher, with a tear in his eye. We now make our way to the Astral Phoenix, in the midst of going through Shore Leave, doing bits and pieces. Doing bits and pieces. Ignis asks Tak if he needs any help, and they converse. It's Ignis' first time here. "Well, if it's your first time in Drumeth, we must make it an event." "Well, what do you have in mind?" she says, suddenly turning Irish, because I think that's the accent that was chosen in session 34, and I didn't pick up on it in session 33. So anyway. "Well, a ball, of course. But I don't think I'm invited. I don't have much control of my life, my destiny. But this, I do. Do you have anything that you can wear?" And she goes to change finding something suitable, and as she's walking off, and H.Y.D.R.A, hating to see her go but loving to watch her leave, says, "What on earth possessed me to do that?" And so we go, with Cornelius frequently reminding Tack he knows all about that primal lust burning within him. Ignis wears the red shawl which glows like sunset, seeing him in his robes of the Raven Queen. "Not on fire, but you give radiance a new definition." "Oh!" says Tack. No, he doesn't go, "Oh, that was me." But wow, that oof. Big oof. One of the bigger oofs. Not the biggest, but one of the bigger ones, because the biggest oof is coming up in this next paragraph. I was about to have a drink. Apparently, we have clearance to dock at Her Royal Highness's personal air dock. And that is where the Astral Phoenix takes off, and the guests marvel at the technology of our ship. We make our way now to the Royal Palace, with some nobles having their own airships dock there, and we find ourselves docked as guests get unloaded. Kaboomshka and Ivo unload their goods, calling me Poppet, and run forward, with Rigsby joining them. As we're about to get inside, I let the party know something that I wanted to tell them after the battle in the Tranquility Court. Something I wanted to tell Helix Swift as well, as he had inspired me with his blade song. I wanted to let them all know how proud I am of them. And we continue. Now, I for some reason, I've missed something here in my notes, and it does require a bit of context, because this is what I've got. Cornelius tries to stare down Damien, and while he tries to roundhouse kick him, Maya, in her flowing robes of the summer court, steps forward to intercept, and says, "You're stretching before we dance." Good. And he keeps flirting, but is kept being cock-blocked. So yeah, I think it was like Cornelius was worried that like Damien was going to, you know, take advantage of the situation or anything like that. But you know, he was defending my honour. But Damien's like completely oblivious, and he's just like, he's just here for a good time, you know. So yeah, so Maya and Cornelius talk about Malie, and Maya thinks that old priest and Malil are eunuchs, and that she hopes one day that he has the courage to go through with the ceremony. And there's a slight twinkle in her eye as she's teasing, and he sees that she's teasing. And prepare yourself for the greatest moment of session 33, of the greatest line ever spoken in A Debt to a Friend. I present to you Cornelius Bonaparte's line. "My darling, I think I'm sick with diarrhea because I can't keep in my love for you." It's hard to tell if Maya has lost all colour in her face because she's elven, or just because she's quite simply pale. Cornelius, again without missing a beat, says she's pale and carries on. Perhaps as a result of this line, or Rigsby eating the hardtack that Cornelius dropped on the deck of the Astral Phoenix, he pukes, and I do actually say that, you know, Rigsby does have an ability called Spew, which is reflavoured Tasha's Caustic Brew. Spew is sulphuric projected ejected a waste, and yeah, so he just like bleh, just blows this 10-foot line of puke into the rose bushes and carries on. We are invited into the ballroom now. And we see that it has been tweaked to allow for food and tables to be placed about. And today we have an exhibition of technologies of the kingdom. But first, it must be officiated. We see a number of technologies, and, well, I'm interested in them. I prefer to listen to the guest and understand, than to understand the technologies on display. A figure approaches me from behind me and asks how wonderful it is. They wear a robe and a cloak, which has a red frilly collar which goes around him. He reaches out to shake my hand. Harry Hill, no, Father Leonidas. I do hope we can achieve both our goals tonight. As I'm holding his hand and shaking, he lets it go, and I feel almost frostbite running through my fingers and arm. And just as he vanishes into the crowd, so too does the sensation. I consider what to do. Do I alert security? Do I find Cornelius? Or do I do something else? Tak, Ignis and Maya stuff their faces. Rakanar looks at the Cyclops skull and a great moon blade, which has the name in Draconic, G.E.E.S.E, I think it was. Tchaikovsky. And he's impressed by these rather, admittedly, very impressive arms and armaments, which I can't see because there we are. We've got the thingy, the map, the battle map, which I can't zoom into very much because screen capture technology isn't very great. Yeah, so it's he's looking at this great sword and a Cyclops skull. Very impressed, and also as well a bow. But we'll talk about that soon. Cornelius, half dancing and half making crude remarks, pelvic thrusts his way to Maya, knocking Damien into a book with runes which glow and cause him to float in the air. And Cornelius is winded by the time he reaches Maya, who swallowed a whole steak. Cornelius sucks the chicken drumstick clean, snapping his lips at his triumph. You must play Quidditch, because I know a keeper when I see one. And Maya is just like, yeah, and she's just like scoffing everything in front of her. Seeing shrimp the size of a baby's arm, she lunges toward it. I try pulling Damien down by his robes, and he just keeps going wee with the book and floating away. And others start to notice this now as well. Now, as this is going on, which is causing a bit of a scene now, but the other nobles are having a good time, so security doesn't seem too bothered. They could be bothered very quickly if I kept taking the piss. The butcher brings out a kielbasa, which the Denmartians call a schlong. Maya tells Cornelius, as he is handling the schlong with both hands and is on his knees trying to take the whole thing, she tells him that it's amazing how you use two hands to handle the schlong, in an accent that I didn't quite get. Cornelius tries to pull Maya away from the butcher's schlong, but she insists on giving it a try. Oh my. Yeah. The bow of Fenris is what Rakanar is amazed by, and apparently the expedition leader who offered this artifact resides in Freergate, and he runs a hunting shop. And Rakanar bought a bow from that guy. To be such a legendary ranger, to think he could teach me how to use it properly. And we have an amazing number of artifacts here as well. And the curator goes on about Bracken gratitude. Oh yes, the Brackens must be so grateful for all that we've done for them. Sure, they were slaves, but look how far they've come now. So, yeah, this is clearly a nod at the former British Empire, and how a lot of people seem to think that like places like India and such should be grateful for British intervention and enslaving them and giving them all this stuff, and so it's good. In fact, to be honest, it's interesting to see like one real world not allegory perhaps in the world, because like I know like this is a Cold War, but I haven't quite detected like what are the real world equivalents. So yeah, it's like seeing like Ostergarth as like the Empire is quite interesting. So yeah, it's very interesting. As I'm trying to find Cornelius, I'm pulled aside by former nemesis Captain Magnus Cole of the ceremonial Royal Guard, welcoming me to the ball and showing me a ring of the chorus. He tells me that he hasn't got much time, that the Major Bruckner is going to come marching in here and she's going to challenge me to an honour duel, and that, well, it could have disastrous implications for the military of Ostergarth if I refuse this duel. Well, it's a good job we have those temporary hit points, isn't it? Just as Magnus Cole is going to tell me some stuff, as I'm about to tell him that I need to get a message to my colleague, an announcer reveals, "Welcome, the newly gazetted Colonel Bruckner of the 229th Banshees." And over the noise is the piercing din of Colonel Bruckner. "Commissar, I believe we have business to attend." And with that, session 33 ends.